Hello, my name is Mariana Vazquez, and today I'm going to be talking about the Taiwanese culture as well as some things we should consider when providing care to the Taiwanese client. So to start off, here's the overview of Taiwan. As you can see, it's off the coast of China, so it is heavily influenced by Chinese culture, and as well they do have, some history between them. So it was a province of China in 1683. Then it was ceded to Japan in 1895. So it does have some Japanese influence as well. However, it was under China for the most time because it was under China rule again after, this event with Japan. But at this moment, Taiwan does consider itself to be independent and a self-governing nation. However, because of that, there is tension with China. They are working together, but China does want Taiwan to be under its rule and influence. The official language of Taiwan is Mandarin Chinese, which is the same as China. However, older generation does tend to speak Taiwanese and as well as Japanese from the time that they were under the rule of Japan. And there are also other Chinese dialects that are spoken in Taiwan. When it comes to religion, they do have freedom of religion in Taiwan, just like the United States. However, 93% of people follow Buddhism, Confucianism, as well as Taoism. And here's just some definitions that I found on Lipicon about the three. They heavily influence the way they see illness as well as their health and even the way that they, relate to each other and also their family values. Less than 5% of, Taiwanese of the Taiwanese population are Christian of various denominations, and 2.5% follow other religions, which some Taiwanese people can be Catholic as well. When it comes to family, the traditional family tends to be patriarchal, so the eldest male tends to be the decision maker of the family. So it would be important to ask your client who they see as the decision maker, who they want to be the spokesperson. Elderly parents commonly live with their children. The sons are expected to care for aging parents. Because it is more of a modern society, both of the parents do tend to work, both the mom and the dad. So the grandparents actually help raise the kids while the parents are at work. They do not openly display affection with one another, but they do have deep-rooted unity and a sense of obligation to each other. So they are very conscious of the way that they behave in public because it does reflect on their family as well, not only them. Parents support children until they finish their education and can support themselves. So they do tend to live with their parents for a long time, sometimes even until after they get married, unless they are financially independent. Children yield to the counsel of oldest member of the family. So again, you want to assess who your client will consider to be the spokesperson. For general attitudes, the Taiwanese individual does tend to be quite reserved, generous, friendly, and quiet. They do avoid causing any sort of public embarrassment because they do highly value politeness and respect. They are group and community oriented instead of individualistic. So they are very conscious of the way that they behave in public because it doesn't just reflect on them, but also their family. Young men must serve in the military and do community service. Cleanliness and neatness are the most important factors in appearance, but they also do, in the way that they dress, it is very westernized. The older generation does tend to be more conservative. However, the younger generation is the one that, they dress in Western clothing and they're not as conservative. For diet, meals are central to the Taiwanese culture. So even the standard greeting is "Have you eaten yet?" which I found very interesting. The meals are communal. So as you can see in the picture from the bottom left, they serve the meal like the dishes in the middle of the table, and they all just, get from the same plate and into their own plate. Usually they have their own like individual bowl of rice. The most common utensils are chopsticks, so you do want to ask your client what sort of utensils they prefer to eat with their meal. Dinner is the main meal of the day. The breakfast tends to be light, but the dinner is the one that tends to be the heaviest of all. It does include soup, rice, meat, and or vegetable dishes, and tea is brewed and served throughout the day. This is just a random fact, but I don't know how many of you have tried boba, but it actually is from Taiwan. Gender roles are less clearly defined than in the past because they have come a long way and tend to be a little bit more modern in the way that they view gender roles. The head of the family does tend to make all the decisions, and that's usually the eldest male of the family. Women are subordinate to husbands as well as their mother-in-law, and they are responsible for the cleaning, cooking, and laundry. So you do have traditional gender roles. The husband tends to also do like, the work around a house in terms of like repairs or things like that. Since the 1970s, they now promote gender equality in Taiwan, and half of the workforce is made up of women. For health practices, a lot of them it's pretty much the same as in China. So Taiwan has a modern healthcare system. They utilize Western medicine as well as, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and things like that. They believe illness is caused by an imbalance of yin and yang. They use Chinese medicine to restore that balance. So they may seek acupuncturists for treatment as well. They use herbs for their medicinal properties, and herbs are the major component in most of their dishes. After giving birth, a pregnant lady does tend to like sit out a month, and they have these sort of facilities where they can stay in, and they actually get help, and they're taught how to care for the babies and things like that. So that's pretty cool. They do believe in hot and cold food, depending on, if you have a hot illness or a cold illness, and it helps restore that yin and yang as well. You can see from the top left picture. And mental illness is stigmatized. So even I have a friend that's Taiwanese, and she told me that, in Taiwan, they don't talk about, their mental health or anything like that. For nursing considerations, I make sure to include that as I was going. However, I did include some things in here. So you want to perform a cultural assessment on your client to make sure that, their plan of care is individualized to them and you're not basing off of just stereotypes. So you want to know the patient's communication style and needs, the personal space needs, dietary needs, eye contact, things like that. You want to actively involve the family and ask who the client wants as a spokesperson. They refrain from asking questions and from complaining because they see it as, being impolite or disrespectful, because they do highly value those in power, hard work. So they really do value the doctors and things like that. You want to provide opportunities for the client to practice their religion, as well as address them as Mr. or Miss. However, you want to ask as well how they would like to be addressed. Direct eye contact is avoided because they do think direct eye contact is quite aggressive, so they tend to avoid it just to show respect. You can shake their hands, but they tend to, just bow or just nod their head just to also show respect and, keep that distance. Health trends. Taiwanese people generally tend to enjoy good health. Their life expectancy is one of the highest. They have the lowest infant mortality rate. And however, they do have an inability to process acetaldehyde, as well as, they can have end-stage renal disease, nasopharyngeal cancer, liver cancer, lactose intolerance, as well as tuberculosis. So you do want to assess them for those risks. For example, the inability to process the acetaldehyde, it does increase the risk of esophageal as well as stomach cancer and peptic ulcer disease. So you want to make sure to screen your clients for that. And that's it. Thank you for watching.